and I am a single mom with two special needs kiddos. This morning, I invited a friend of mine over to kind of hang out with me while I do some of the stuff that I do. I raise money for my kiddos' therapies, their treatments, their supplements, their special diet. And I do some of that work by listing on eBay and Amazon. So in our discussion this morning, my good friend was like, I don't know your why. Why do you do what you do? Like there's probably more to why you do what you do other than just your boys. So I began to tell her the story as to why I do what I do. Raising money for their needs is the biggest part of the why, but the breakdown behind that is could cause me to be a little emotional. So I'll try to go through this and explain it without getting emotional. And I will try to make it clear. So my son, I have two boys. My son Nicholas was born. He was pretty loud when he was born. He was screaming from the NICU, and they brought him to me because he was so loud. I had like high decimals. And, I didn't really think anything was wrong with him then other than he was loud, because when Tony was born, he wasn't loud like that. But outside of that, I didn't think there was anything wrong. And then later on, I discover there is something going on with Nicholas. It didn't take long to figure that out, and that's a whole nother discussion. But by about 15 months or so, between 15 and 18 months or so, he was completely gone. He started leaving me after about 13 to 15 months or so. So he's diagnosed with autism. And for some children, they regress into autism, and he's one of those children. And again, that's a whole nother topic for another day. And he also has a sleep disorder. He has digestive issues. He has sensory processing disorder, and he has speech delay. And he also has seizures. But a lot of that I didn't know when he was first diagnosed. They didn't diagnose him officially until 2009. And again, I knew something was up, but I didn't know what it was. I kind of had an inkling of that what it was, but I didn't know what it really was. And so my friend was talking to me this morning, and I was telling her that there were like two major defining moments in my life that kind of gave me the drive that I have for my kids. And so that first defining moment was after Nicholas was diagnosed, and I kind of went into what I call a cocoon-like state. I just kind of checked out for about 3 months emotionally from the world. I was completely detached. I just was trying to process in my own mind what was going on, because everything hit me all at once. It wasn't just, oh, okay, he's autistic. No, he's autistic, and he also has seizures. And, oh, by the way, this is the reason why he's not talking, blah, 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 blah. So when he was younger, he was more on the severe side. And now, he's not. He's far from recovered from autism. He clearly is autistic. But some of the stuff he used to do, he doesn't do anymore. He used to bang his head on like cement and walls, and he would run into walls. He would scream. He was so loud. He was so loud. He would never go to sleep. He would never stay asleep. If he went to sleep, he would be up like 2 hours later, and he was just like crazed. He was like the Tasmanian devil. He was everywhere. He was always running off. He was always trying to hit, pull, kick, spit. And I'm like, where'd you learn this from? But he didn't even, have exposure to any cartoons where he could see that type of behavior, and he wasn't around other kids that displayed that type of behavior, so I didn't know where it came from. But he was so active that he was saved out of a pool 3 times. Two by my good friend Renata, and one by a grandma who jumped into a pool to save him, and both of them were fully clothed at the time. Nicholas is a fast-moving little boy. He jumped off of things because he needed input. I learned about input and deep pressure later, but initially he broke his ankle before he was 2, And then after that was resolved, then he broke his other foot, like almost 4 months, 6 months later. It's crazy, just jumping off of things. He was fearless. He had no fear. He didn't even cry when he broke his ankle. He didn't cry. I remember getting a phone call from my mom saying, Nicholas won't stand up. I don't know what's wrong with him. He won't stand up. And when I stand him up, he just keeps sitting back down. But he didn't cry. So the doctor was completely surprised by that. It was like, why won't this child cry? So that probably should have been a hint. And, he has lots of other issues. He was vomiting a lot. I mean, a lot. He used to vomit so much. And we discovered it was like severe acid reflux. He couldn't hold anything down. His body wasn't digesting food. He would eat breakfast in the morning, and I didn't know not to give him some of the stuff I gave him. But that was early in my journey, and by evening he was throwing up. The food was coming out of his stomach, unprocessed, that he had had this morning. He was so starved, and he would gorge on food. So he had a lot of digestive issues, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. But he had a lot of challenges, and I had a lot of challenges with him early on. And so one of my defining moments was when I came out of the fog of 3 months of just, I don't know, maybe it was a confused day state and partial pity party and depression and sadness for the loss of what I saw my son's future to be. I came out of that because I know I serve an awesome big God, and I started getting to work. And I got to work trying to figure out solutions for him. So then I guess did the opposite extreme, and I did like 3 days worth of hardcore research to the point where our wonderful helping angel actually had to come and say, you know what, you haven't eaten or sleep, and you still have on the same clothes, so you probably should go to bed. We thank the world for Miss Victoria. But I did a lot of research, and I discovered that he could be helped. And after I finally got some rest, I went ahead and changed his diet. I put him on supplements. I actually saw what they call a DAN doctor at the time. Now they have MAP doctors, but I saw a doctor, a holistic doctor that specializes in the treatment of children that are on the spectrum. And I changed his diet. I put him on supplements. I cleaned up his environment, which is a whole nother, again, we don't have time for that. And we went cold turkey, like for real, the same day. I went and bought things that would help him from an input standpoint so he could stop breaking himself, like get him a big giant couple of exercise balls. I think we had like 3 of them. We had 1 peanut and 2 big balls. We got him a swing. We got him a trampoline. I mean, I got him all kinds of stuff because I began to understand after I started doing the research. And I put him in therapy. But before I could do any of that, I had to figure out where I was going to get the money to make this life change. And so that was my defining moment. Once I figured out that there was a way to help my child have the best possible life or improve the potential quality of life for him, because there's just a lot of stuff out there that makes you believe that they can't function in life in the future, and that he'd be in a home. And I was like, no. I serve a big God. He's not going to be in a home. So I had to find the money for his therapies. And so I have done and did a lot of different things. Of course, all legal, but I started a candy vending business. I had that for about 3.5, 4 years. Sorry about that. I got into a couple of different network marketing opportunities, and I did phones. I still do. I did everything from cards to oils to paint patches to I'm just trying to think of what I haven't done. Weight loss products, you name it. And I built some teams. I made a little bit of money, and it helped bridge a little bit, but we were still living paycheck to paycheck. And I got my insurance license, and that helped bridge a lot of money. And I was able to get hardcore and intense with therapies. And my whole point was I was going to start therapies with him, and I wasn't going to let up on the gas, because all the data out there tells you, there's a window in which, you can make some massive change or help improve some things, improve the quality of life for your child long term, and build some skills that build stronger neural pathways. If you do intense therapies early on. And so that's what I did. I did whatever it took to get money, to raise money, so that I could do therapies and I wasn't letting up off the gas. And because of that, today, he's doing so much better. He still has challenges. He's still very much autistic, but he's improved so much. He does not bang his head. He doesn't run into walls. He doesn't jump off of things. He still jumps every once in a while, but he doesn't jump off of things. He responds. He can talk. He has words. I mean, he's not going to have a conversation with you, trust me. But he, not right now, but maybe later. God can heal him. He has so many skills now that he didn't have before, and it's taken us a long time. And we still have a lot of skills he doesn't have, for his age. But that's all right. God's still working in him and still working on him, and so anything is possible. And we're still continuing therapies, and we're still working on improving his quality of life. So we're still doing massive therapies and looking at alternative therapies. We've been doing that as well. So, included in that whole mash of stuff that I did to raise money, I did a couple of autism fundraisers as well. So from about 2010 to about 2014, I mean, I just was hardcore about raising money for my kids. And I also got into internet marketing. I joined Empower Network. I joined MLSP. I joined a couple of other internet marketing things. I did lots of internet marketing things to raise money, to make money. I learned some skills, which was good. You can use those in other ways, but I did a lot of stuff online. I won't say crazy stuff because some of that stuff really makes money, but it wasn't making the kind of money I really needed, and we were still living paycheck to paycheck, and our family was still getting adopted at Christmas time because we didn't have the money, because I spent all the money the entire year on therapies and treatments and diet and supplementation and alternative therapies, and it was just, I never had the money. I was always living paycheck to paycheck. I seem to be very popular right now. So, anyway, that window where I focused 100% on trying to help them or help him become all that he could be, my other son began to struggle, and that kind of affected me in a way that I don't know that I can effectively explain without, somewhat sounding guilty, because I did feel guilty for a long time. Because Nicholas needed so much help, my other son, Tony, I kind of felt like I wasn't able to give him the help that he needed. So I started spending the last 2 years a significant amount of time trying to help Tony. In the meantime, he struggled. So Nicholas is like in a small contained classroom is what they call it, and he has 4 to 5 kids in that room and 3 teachers. Tony, on the other hand, is what they call in general ed, and general, like in the regular classroom, and he gets classroom supports, but the last 2 years have been a struggle, and I guess prior to that it was a struggle. He has central auditory processing disorder. You should look it up. He has, it's how the brain processes and interprets what it hears. And he also has speech impairment. He has Asperger's, and he has sensory processing disorder. And he has challenges with social skills and making friends and being able to articulate what he wants to say. And for Nicholas, there's some of the things that he does. He makes noises. He moves in an awkward manner. He won't respond to you. He has eye rolls and lots of tics, and he stems. And you can look those up as well. But Tony, he has some stemming, but it's in a different way, and he has struggled to try and fit in at school. So he's dealing with a whole other set of issues, and academically he's behind when he's in a regular classroom. And so he's made a lot of progress in the last couple of years, again, because I'm hardcore. I'm like, we're doing whatever we need to do. So of course I put him through the same diet and supplementation. He saw the same doctors, but again, all of that cost a lot of money. So with that being said, it costing a lot of money, I had to, I had an autism walk in 2013. That autism walk was to raise money for our therapies, and that money that I raised was used to send Tony to a specialist, and that specialist was the one that discovered that he had central auditory processing disorder, which was extremely helpful. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I was able to raise that money. And then I did another fundraiser in 2014. Now, that first one, I walked 88 miles in 88 hours, and yes, the big girl did do that. So, you know, it's quite hard on the body when you're over 200 pounds and you're walking 88 miles in 88 hours, trust me, it is. Then I did it a second time. I did 68 miles in 68 hours, and those numbers are significant because at the time, 1 in 88 children were diagnosed with autism. Now it's 1 in 68, and the number's really actually lower than that because they don't count if the child, you know, the data is collected 8 years and up. So there's a lot of 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. I mean, Nicholas was diagnosed when he was 2, so they don't include them in the data. So Nicholas will now be included in the data because he's 8, but he's been autistic for 6, you know, diagnosed as autistic for over 6 years. So whatever. But yeah, so that defining moment was knowing that there was hope and things that I could do to help Nicholas's world be better, and then do what I can do to help Tony's world be better and get better and improve his quality of life and help him to unwrap his gifts. You know, God blesses all of us with gifts. Sometimes we know what our gift is, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we can see what our children's gifts are, and sometimes we can't. And I just wanted him to be able to have the skills, the ability, the understanding, the comprehension, the memory, the intellect, to be able to make wise choices, respond appropriately in public, act in such a way that the world doesn't try to isolate him or treat him bad or pick on him, both of them, so that they could be successful in this world in whatever their journey, wherever their journey is going to lead them. I wanted them just to be able to survive in this world for sure whenever I'm gone, and we never know the day nor the hour, so it was all about therapies, and again, I never lit up off the gas. So in 2000, that was the first defining moment. Then the second was in 2014. We started therapies again because we always have therapies all the time, but beginning of the year I was introduced to a company that teaches you how to sell on eBay and Amazon, and bought the product. Initially I didn't do anything with it. My team, I had a couple of team members and they started doing stuff and asking questions. I couldn't answer their questions, but it was just another way for me to make money, because I was all about how can I make money, how can I make money, how can I make money, how can I make money. I got to pay for therapies, I got to pay for this special diet, I got to pay for supplements, I got to pay for this deductible, I've got to pay for, you know, we got to get this other test done, we've got to get this other evaluation done, we got to go see this other specialist, I got to get, you know, it was all about raising money and making money. So I didn't do anything with it when I first started, and I regret that, but it's all right. Afterwards, I had a couple of team members that were asking questions, so I finally started dabbling in it, and then something really crazy happened to me about May of last year, and it really kind of was, my world was jacked up from May until about the end of September. It was just completely insane, like a grenade was thrown into my world, and it took me a long time to get my footing and to get turned back around. So I started back up again in this world of Amazon and eBay around October of 2014. And I started doing eBay and Amazon again, and I actually used it to raise money for my children's deductible for 2015, which I never thought that I could actually make the money. I mean, I thought that I would make the money, but I didn't think I'd make enough money to cover the deductible. And I did, and I was like caught off guard. And then I also had, I was able to make enough money for us to be able to do a vacation in 2015, which was totally awesome because my kids have never been on vacation ever, ever. I mean, they've gone like 2 days to somebody's house and they think that's a vacation. And I'm like, no, no, no. Real vacation, you're gone for like several days, and maybe you have a team with you, depending on what's going to happen with your child. And with my children, we can't just go somewhere. We have to like pack food because we can't eat food out, and you got to pack certain things. You got to make sure you have enough batteries. Do we have enough we have enough power in the electronics? Do we have, what do we need? Because you can't just travel. And my son, again, he has some OCD. My youngest, Nicholas, he has some OCD tendencies, and so you got to have all the things that he needs to stem off of, just in case he needs to calm down. So yeah, not easy to travel. But anyway, getting to my second defining moment. It actually happened in 2010. But there were some things that happened in 2014 that kind of reminded me of that defining moment again. So in 2010, and I'm going to try and get through this story without crying. In 2010, right after Nicholas was diagnosed, my mom, who actually lived here at the time, lived here in Texas is where I live, that she was going to go with us, she was going to learn more about autism, and so she was going to help take care of an autistic adult. And in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think it's in Plano, I think there's a place that they teach skills for employment. They teach them how to build games and things like that, like online gaming. And I think it's called In Purcell, but I'm probably going to mess up the name. And so there was a young man coming from another state that got into that program, and his mother needed an aide, and my mom had done home health aide. She'd been doing that for years, and so she signed up to be a home health aide for this young man. He was about 19 years old, probably about 6'2", 6'3". He was pretty big. I think he was like 6'3". And he lived in an apartment complex, and there were several of the other special needs adults that lived there as well. Well, in the non-area where the others were, there was someone, I don't know who this person is, I don't even know their name. I guess they discovered that there were some special needs adults on a specific side of the apartment complex, and he decided to entice these special needs adults into doing something illegal, which caused them to go to jail. So the boy, or the man that my mom was watching, he's 19, so it depends on how you interpret that. He went to jail for stealing some headphones at Walmart because he was told repeatedly by this other person that it was okay to take them. And, you know, as a mother of two special needs children, one of the biggest fears that we have is that something bad will happen. That you want to live forever. You don't want your children to suffer because of mean or evil people. You don't want them to be manipulated in any kind of way, because sometimes some of them don't have any intuition. They just do whatever you tell them to do. If you say it's time to go to bed, they go to bed. If you tell them, they're like, my boys are big, and they look older than they really are, and people expect more out of them, and I expect a lot out of them too, but I know that their ability to have some level of intuition and to be able to tell right and wrong in certain situations when you're being manipulated is not always there, and I pray about that all the time. And there are people in this world who mean others harm, and this adult male was taken advantage of, and he went to jail. So it was a weekend in 2010 when this happened, and my mom gets this call from this person that's on the other line, and she's frantic and she's upset, and my mom starts to get upset, and I'm like, well, who are you talking to? So we discover that she's talking to this mother who's in the other state. She's talking to the mother of the son, and she explains that her son's in jail, and she's trying to get the person at In Purcell to help him get out, whoever his coach is, his lead, whatever they call them, and trying to get him out. And also, and maybe it wasn't In Purcell. I don't know what the name of the company was. Anyway, so I was trying to help him get him out, and she's frantic because she doesn't know how to help him from the state that she's in, and she can't get to Texas fast enough. So when my mom gets off the phone and she can't form a sentence, and she's like, we have to help him. I don't know how to help him. And I was just like, what are you talking about? She explains to me what had happened to him, and I was like, I was furious, and I was angry, and I was sad, and I was scared, all at the same time, because I don't want my boys to ever be manipulated like that by anyone, to be told that you can do something or go do something or do this or go here or touch this or whatever the case may be, and them get into trouble or be placed in grave danger because they don't understand that what that person meant it as a whatever, a joke, a gag, or meant them harm in some kind of way. That is always my fear. So keeping it together. So that was a defining moment for me, because I said I have to do whatever I need to do to help my boys to be able to just understand what's happening in this world, and to be able to have discernment and have wisdom about what they do and how they do what they do. And when you have someone that's at the mental capacity of a 3-year-old, that's not always the case, and you're like, I wish I could live forever, but I know I'm not going to. And so I told my mom, I said, you know what, we're going to go get him out. We're going to get him out. She's like, well, we have all this stuff planned, and I don't know if it was Memorial Weekend or the 4th of July or Labor Day weekend, but it was one of those weekends, and I just said, it doesn't matter. So I called Ms. Victoria, and I had her take my boys, take Nicholas and Tony, and we raced over to the detention center at Collin County Jail. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know what I was doing. But I proceeded to try and help him get out. I talked to whoever. I couldn't tell you what I said on that day. It was probably a complete blur. And I started the process of trying to get him out, and I worked with his mom, and we finally got him bond, and then we had to wait because he got bonded out. I paid for whatever I needed to pay for to get him out, and but in the meantime, with the stuff that this boy went through while he was in jail is what scares me the most, because he was placed in a jail cell with other people, and some of them criminals, and what was done or what was said, how he was treated because he didn't understand and interpret, and trying to get him moved to another area of the jail, and that process of trying to get him moved, and they put him in with the mental health, which is a whole nother issue because they're not the same level of disability. And so by the time he got out, we stayed that whole day. I didn't know how long this was going to take. I didn't know what we were going to be doing, but I wasn't leaving until he came out of that jail. And we got him out. And when he saw me, he didn't know who I was. He knew who my mom was, but he didn't know who I was. And he hugged me, and I hugged him. And he was so frantic. He was very frantic, and I know his brain was trying to process what was happening to him or what had happened to him and why nobody was coming to help him. The sad reality is the other boy that got pulled into this situation, the other adult who was also a special needs adult, his father came and got him out, but he left the other one. He left our boy, and I'm like, why would somebody do that? Why would you leave him in there? So that affected me in such a, I was like, I pray that if my boys were ever in this situation, that somebody would be kind enough to get them out, that somebody would take care of them. And so when I finally got him, and we got him in the car, we got him to his apartment, and we stayed with him, and we made sure he got his meds, and He got to a point where he was calm and his mom was calm, and I remember talking to her like a day later because she really couldn't form words. She was very emotional every time she talked to me, and so I was emotional whenever I talked to her because she would start and I just couldn't stop, so I was a hot mess. But she said, she said, I want to thank you for what you did for my son. And I told her, I said, all I kept thinking was, I have to do this because I pray that somebody does the same thing for my boys. So I go back to why I do what I do. I do what I do because there are so many special needs adults in this world, and there are so many special needs children that are just going to, I don't think that the world is ready for the volume, the number of children that will become adults and how they will be treated and how they should be handled. I do what I do to raise money for my kids to help them improve their quality of life. There's a therapy that we need to get that I really believe, I prayed about it, and I really believe that it's going to affect my son in such a profound, positive way that I'm willing to do what I need to do to make sure he can get it, so that he never, if the Lord says the same, he never experiences that. He never goes to jail. He doesn't, he understands how to comply. He can respond. He can give eye contact to whoever is talking to him if they mean him well, and he can discern when people don't mean him well, and he can respond appropriately. And the same thing for my other son. I mean, I know I focus on Nicholas, but to some extent, Tony the same way. And I do that because it's all about, therapy has changed their life. Therapy has improved their quality of life. Therapy has given me hope that I will be able to help them unpack their gift, whatever it is that God has for them to give out to the world and share with the world. And I believe that the therapies that they need, the continued therapies, I need money to be able to do that. And so that is part of the reason that I do what I do, because the money will help pay for the therapies that will improve their life. The second reason I do what I do is because after I get, while I'm, I guess, parallel on this journey, is that I think there's a whole nother opportunity on the law enforcement and or, first responder side for the special needs community. Again, they're not, no one is ready for the number of kids that are about to pour into the community as they age out. I know Holly Robinson Peete, she talked about it a couple of years ago, and really the numbers are just staggering. And there has to be training, there has to be understanding on how to help a person, how to be able to discern that this person is not on drugs, that they're actually, a special needs adult, and no, it's not a mental health situation. You don't put them in that ward or unit or whatever they call it. And so I think that is one of my callings, is to, I don't know, be an advocate for that. Not that I really want to do it. I don't want to do it, but I believe strongly that if God puts something on your heart and he keeps bringing it back to you, then that's your assignment, and nobody wants to be chastised by God. Nobody does. So as much as I don't want that to be my assignment, I believe strongly that that's what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know how I'm supposed to do whatever I'm supposed to do. But I have aligned myself with some nonprofits that do it really well, and they try to build a relationship with the police departments and the special needs community to help them respond appropriately to adults. So you don't have situations where they are killed, unfortunately, in their stories, and you can find them on your own. And the last thing is to find a solution for all these adults that are going out into the community. They need a way to have, to build, I don't know if it's build their confidence, just to feel, I can't think of the right word right now, I don't know why, but a sense of accomplishment. When you're able to do something, you do it on your own, you don't want to spend the rest of your life with your parents. I mean, I know, I don't know that I would still want to live with my parents at the age of 40 plus. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I don't want to live with my parents. And so you have to know that they want their own life. They want to be able to live on their own. They want to be able to have their own job, and they want to, have a sense of accomplishment or some level of routine. And there has to be something out there that helps them to be able to do that. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I know I'm supposed to do something. And I know that for my children, I'm going to be teaching them, the candy vending business that I did before, and I'm going to, so that they can learn how to make money, and they can learn how to have money and how to spend money and how to use money to do what they need to do in this world, and to also survive and not have to worry about a check, a disability check. But in addition to that, teaching them the skill of selling on eBay and Amazon. I don't know what eBay and Amazon will look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now. But in essence, everything is going to be, people are going to be able to buy everything online. So even if it's not that platform, if they can learn the technique, the skill, have some level of comprehension about e-commerce, it could change their life. So I'll be working on teaching my boys, and it may take a year or 2 years for them to, one of them at least, to fully understand. I mean, he may grasp it very quickly. I may not be giving him enough credit. But just giving him the ability to have a job and a sense of, accomplishment and worth, and being able to do that. So that's what I do, and I think there's an opportunity to help other parents help their children to get the therapies that they need, to raise the money to get the therapies that they need. And it's very important to me to be able to do that. So with that being said, I'm about to go and do what I do to raise money for our therapies. I'm going to go list. I'm going to go post. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to go, if I need to go pick up product, I'll go pick up product. But I do want to help more people do this. I want to be able to do what it is that God has put on my heart that's not leaving. I want to help find solutions and opportunities for people with special needs, adults, to be able to have gainful employment and or become entrepreneurs. I think it's possible if they have the right people that's patient with them, that's teaching them and helping them and guiding them and supporting them. There's a lot of great businesses out there, and a lot of great opportunity. On that note, I guess you can comment below if you want me to help you raise money for your kids' therapies. I have a passion for that. I've held some workshops on it. I've coached some parents on how they can have their own fundraisers and how they can make money, and I'm probably going to be holding a workshop on how to start a vending business. And I do help parents with selling on eBay and Amazon. So if this is something that you want to help your child by helping to be able to pay for that therapy that costs over $25,000, or the 2 therapies that cost over $25,000 and one's $20,000, for 2 kids, connect with me. I'll be praying for you. You pray for me. And thanks for listening to my story.